The motorsports world is where legends are made, the unthinkable happens, and barriers are broken. One man harnesses the power of an industry every week. This is the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR, with Jim Beaver.
Welcome to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. And I got to tell you, we are coming out swinging today. All killer, no filler. That is right. We got guests slam-packed into every segment of this show because we got a hell of a lot to talk about. And I don't know if 2 hours is going to be enough. Welcome to everybody tuning in, whether you're tuning on Sirius XM Channel 211, Dan Patrick Radio, the Sports Byline Network, our good friends at the American Forces Network, Podcast One, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, downanddirtyshow.com, all our local affiliates, anywhere you're getting the show. Thank you for joining us once again because we have 2 hours of motorsports talk like you don't get anywhere else. And let me tell you, today we are we're throwing on the off-road hat a little bit to kick off the show. Hour number one, we're dedicated to off-road, my roots, and we're going to be talking about ERX Motor Park. Yeah, that's right, Champ Off-Road. They brought the first short course race of the year to us, and we're going to have all the details locked and loaded. Tiffany Stone was on site at the race. She's calling in, and we're going to dissect everything that happened at ERX. And more importantly, in the first two segments, her and I are going to break down, yes, the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room, the new Ford Bronco. It is out. It is in the wild. We finally saw it, and I got to tell you, we dedicate an entire segment to talking about the big, bad Bronco. We finally, after 96, 2006, 2016, we're almost at 25 years since a Bronco has been in production, and yes, we are finally getting another one, and we are going to talk about it. Bet your ass we are. And, not only that, we've got my good friend Robert Loire, factory Polaris RZR racing driver, coming off a big victory for Polaris there at ERX Motor Park. We got him on the show in hour number one. Shifting gears, hour number two. We had Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, off-road, you name it, it was in action. NHRA too. Yeah, it was in action this past week. So Chris Leone and I, we got two segments, kind of 1, 2, of power rankings. We've got a lot of news from the world of motorsports. Chris and I will dive into that. And then to cap off the show, we are pulling one from Project Action over here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show. We've got a couple of girls that just absolutely kill it in Formula Car racing. The Qubaisi sisters are here on the show, calling in live from the UAE. This is going to be one great show. You don't want to go anywhere. We got a whole lot more to come here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance, responsiveness, and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RZRLife to share your story.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I guess I should say the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'd like to welcome one of my guests. We're coming out swinging this week, right out of the box, bringing in Tiffany Stone, because we got a ton to talk about. We're going to be taking up the first 2 segments of the show. Obviously, slam-packed show today. We got a massive dose of power rankings. Got Robert Loire, one of the winners from ERX there in Minnesota this weekend, and also we got the Qubaisi sisters from the UAE. They're going to be calling in, talking about some Formula car racing. But Tiffany Stone, you and I, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room is the Ford Bronco. We will get to that. We're going to fast forward through ERX. Normally, we wouldn't fast forward through, the kickoff to short course season, but I feel like the Bronco is the bigger story right now. So let's talk ERX real quick. You were on site with Vision Wheel. Man, you want to talk about a stacked entry list in just about every division. I mean, short course is back finally. How were things? I mean, Champ Off-Road, it was their first, their first event ever in the off-road space. I think they did maybe a UTV race last year or something, but really kind of this is their first big step into the world off-road. How was everything? I mean, obviously racing good, fans in attendance. How was that? Obviously with COVID going on and everything. Give us the breakdown.
No, everything was great. Hats off to Champ Off-Road for doing a great job. And obviously kudos to the announce team for being able to go through with everything. Overall, it was pretty good. I heard everybody was excited from a driver standpoint, fan, and, enthusiast standpoint overall. And a big, big thank you to the Carlsons at Carlson Motorsport for just making sure that everything was tip-top shape. They made sure there were social distancing spots out on the lawn, that there were different areas. I mean, even the Cooper Tire girls that were there, they had their own circle so they could be able to talk to people right then and there. But it was a great event. It felt really good to be back outside, to be it was humid and I kind of missed it, but didn't really miss it. But it was just nice to be back at a track with people, with fans, all, doing social distancing and stuff like that, but just out there and just, it was nice. Can you tell I'm excited? I was rambling a little bit about it, but just excited about everything.
Yeah, you're excited. I'm excited. I tuned into the live stream. I know they had some struggles with Friday, but they got it all fixed up for Saturday. I guess the big story coming out of the weekend, obviously, Pro 4, Tiff. I've been calling short course for last 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? This was the biggest, outside of Crandon Labor Day last year, the biggest Pro 4 race I can remember in at least a handful of years. And it doesn't matter if we're talking Midwest, West Coast. I mean, Pro 4, we finally got a division with enough trucks where we don't know the winner.
No, you're absolutely right. And Kyle LeDuc came back, and that kind of threw some things in there. And, it's just a different face, a familiar face, but a different face from the last few years, except, out of Labor Day Crandon, where there's a handful of drivers that come from the West Coast as well. But it was cool. It was a different race. You never knew what was kind of going on. And usually it's the CJ and Johnny kind of show, and they're great drivers as well. But usually we could figure out who was going to win or who was going to podium or at least be in the top 3. But this weekend, it was kind of cool. You saw something come a little bit different. Kyle LeDuc just drove like his life depended on it, it seemed. There was no catching him. moving from like second to fifth. There was a lot of action going on back and forth and everything like that. So it was cool because you even saw the growth of some drivers, and not that he needs a lot more growth, but even Andrew Carlson, there's a moment he was in second, then kind of went back, but then pushed his way to finishing second over CJ Greaves, which is a feat in itself, and so a big congrats to Andrew Carlson as well.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, we got a lot. We could probably do an entire show, just talking ERX and what we saw. But, that's a good point with Andrew Carlson. He, transitioned from snowcross into short course, obviously worked up his way up through the divisions. We've seen him in Pro 4 before, but I feel like he was always one of those guys, he might be able to sneak in and win a podium, and that was kind of up until this year. That was what the thought was around Andrew Carlson. That's no fault of his own. He just hadn't put enough time. But after what I saw at ERX, I go, look, this kid's here to play. I think he can factor into that win equation, here this year. And that's got me excited because, longest time it was, Kyle, the Greaves, obviously RJ Anderson. We've heard rumors he might pull the Pro 4 out for Crandon this year. But, there was those names. But Andrew was kind of in the podium mix, but not in the winning mix. And I feel like he took that step forward now to put his name into the equation where, hey, I'm here to compete for wins. And that has me excited. Another top shelf team in Pro 4.
No, exactly. And he's even crossing over. I mean, he's stepping out of his comfort zone as well and going into a UTV in the Pro Mod. And him and his crew, they built an amazing, amazing car. And with the car, they put down the fastest lap time at ERX in the Pro Mod on Saturday. So it's kind of cool to see something like that too, especially him crossing over, like you said, starting even in the snow, going to Pro 4 and now to Pro Mod. So it's cool to see all that together.
Yeah, he's like a Renaissance man. He'll race anything. I like it. So,
yeah,
that being said, I mean, obviously, that happened this weekend. I'm probably going to talk more on that with Chris Leone and Power Rankings. But you and I got to talk about this big 10,000-pound gorilla in the room. Maybe we'll get back to talking ERX. Maybe we won't. But Ford, finally, T-Stone, we've been talking about this, this kind of pipe dream of this Bronco, and it was one of those like, all right, we'll believe it when we see it. Well, Ford finally announced the Bronco, showed the Bronco, and I will say I actually put down my deposit, and I have a Bronco ordered, but T-Stone, I mean, this thing delivered on all fronts. I mean, this is what people wanted. This was worth, I don't want to say worth waiting 2 decades for, because it should have been a whole lot sooner than that, but T-Stone, I mean, this thing, for Bronco people, for off-road people, this thing finally delivered. This is what we've been wanting.
No, and I did. At first, I thought you were going to talk about the 392 Hemi that they were going to drop in the Wrangler concept, but I see that you're actually talking about the Ford Bronco. No, I'm just kidding. It was awesome. I was super excited to see it. Even seeing the 4-door, I kind of was really, really excited. One of the models, because I was obviously looking about it and talking about it on the show, is I know they're only making a certain amount, but I really kind of like the first edition. Of course, it's a top line starting off at 60,000. I think they're making 3,500 of them. But of course, I want the first edition one. It's super exciting to me.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's coming from a Wrangler owner.
I was going to say that's, and it's funny because I can stay neutral on this. Obviously, I'm a Ford guy. I've been a Ford guy forever, but I appreciate Jeep, and I actually appreciate Jeep throwing a little shade at Ford by teasing the the big V8 in the Wrangler. Like, I can appreciate that. It's like we're not just going to let Ford have all the spotlight. We're going to throw a little shade that way. It's all in fun. Like, I can appreciate that. I'm excited. And the first edition, it's kind of cool they did that. Obviously only 3,500 people are going to get their hands on it. They're only doing it for the first year. They'll honestly, I guarantee you that year 2 makes it into the lineup. They just won't call it a first edition, but they'll have like a platinum version or something. But I went with the Badlands on my order. I went with the Badlands. Just because it's got all the off-road tech and everything. And, to me, honestly, I'm getting a Bronco to wheel. I'm not getting it to be a trailer queen like most people, or not even a trailer queen, but just a grocery getter. Like, if I'm getting a Bronco, that damn thing's going to hit the dirt. It's going to get scraped up. It's going to go. I wanted the Badlands. I wanted the off-road tech. I'm actually ordering it with the stick shift, too, because they've got that crawler gear in there. I'm going full-on wheel mode in this thing. I didn't want the automatic. I want a stick.
No, that's awesome. See, I already have that. So that's why I was like, I kind of like the first edition. It's a little bit of both. it's kind of like a luxury-esque type of vehicle comparative, because I still have cloth seats in the Wrangler, which is perfectly fine for me. So if it gets wet or anything, even with JoJo, when she comes on road trips with me, I don't really have to worry about her scratching up the leather. I took her on her first road trip when she was 4 months old, so she was still a super little kitten. But that's why I was like, I'll go with that. But I did see the Badlands to begin with as well, and I was really impressed with a lot of things. Some people are going to talk about it, especially because it has the independent front suspension with the solid axle in the rear. So some people are going to say, oh, it's not a true off-road vehicle and all these other things. And, only time will tell. I'm assuming King of the Hammers this year is probably going to pull out some stuff. I'm assuming Brad Lovell, because he is the Bronco guy. I even saw a post this morning how he was talking about, I think it was a 71 that his dad had, and now the 2021. So it's kind of cool to see it come full circle, and it's still the same type of yellow. I don't know if it's specifically the same yellow, but it really looks cool. And I think for enthusiasts like Brad and his dad and other people and families like that, it's going to be really a full circle, feel good moment for everybody involved. And as much as I want to say not a great thing, but I think Ford did an awesome job on the whole Bronco system.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk more about the Bronco. We'll get into that little Jeep teaser in a little bit. We're going to we're going full off onto this in the next segment. So we got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be back after this right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All right, rolling into things. We were just getting kind of rolling, talking about the Bronco. Obviously, some of the packaging on it. I know T Stone had mentioned they're bringing back some of the throwback colors. And honestly, one thing I can appreciate about the Bronco, and we're going to bridge the gap into talking Jeep and kind of that teaser, because you're a Jeep girl. We're going to talk about that teaser Jeep kind of throughout there, because I think it's kind of rad. And we're going to kind of see off-road wars, which I think is even better. But the packaging, like they've got the base model all the way up into, like the luxury mall crawler type of thing. But, they've got some off-road packaging. I kind of, they mirrored a lot in a lot of regards some of the Jeep packaging with this Bronco, Tiff. I mean, the Badlands obviously is for the enthusiasts. It's kind of like a Jeep Rubicon, but they've got, what is it? The Outer Banks is equivalent like a Sahara. That's more of a, luxury type feel. They've got the wild, the Wild Tracks, I think, that is like full on. Like, I don't know, but it seems like the packaging on this, I looked at it and I'm like, they threw a little homage to Jeep. I feel like the packaging is very similar with the way they're approaching this thing.
No, I think so as well. And I don't know if you saw, and I'm not sure if it's specifically a real meme or a different meme, and it's kind of a dig to Jeep owners, but they said Bronco, just like a Jeep, but for men. And I really think it's just like a meme that's out there. Like, obviously, I don't think Ford is using that as a tagline, or if they are, that's kind of funny. I don't know. But I think, that's kind of where people are going to see, because there's more females, i.e. myself, in the Jeep market as well. And it's awesome to see women wheel and do all that. One of the great ones out there, Holly Fowler, who she drives Mischief Maker, and she's such a great inspiration. And even people like Sarah Price out there doing different things. I saw she was doing the stunts actually for the Bronco commercials and different things like that. So she got her hands on that well before anybody else. And it's kind of cool to see where it's going to be. but I think that it's going to be a market for everybody. And the off-road SUV market has starting to grow where there is no, male, female. It's kind of bridged the gap, and everybody and anybody who wants to go out and loves the outdoors are getting their hands on these types of vehicles.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think, something like this, like you said, there's so many female, say, in the off-road and Jeep community, and I feel like in the last couple of years, I mean, people like such yourself have really helped bridge that gap, and I think UTVs have been a big part of it too, getting women out wheeling and things like that, and I actually, the Raptor's been a big, I know as many female Raptor owners as I do male, and it's funny, that there's memes going around like that, because obviously I don't think there's a lot of basis in it. I think it's rad that women have really embraced the off-road community and come in and and like you said, you mentioned people like Sarah Price, Kristen Matlock, who's a good friend of ours. I mean, they've come in and in a lot of regards, they're actually better than the men sometimes in competition. It's been kind of rad. Jessie Coombs, I mean, we got to mention her. She's been phenomenal. Ambassador. You know what I mean for off-road for women too. Unfortunately, we lost her last year, but I don't know. Tiff, I think those memes actually I take them as a positive because I feel like it's like people actually acknowledging that women are a big part of off-road culture now.
No, and I agree. And like, I even talked to Bailey. I like to just call her Bailey Sims, Brendan Sims' girlfriend. And she was like, I'm so excited. I want one, and it's so cool to see that women are excited about these types of vehicles and they want to grab them. Granted, she's always out in the UTV with Brandon and everything, but it's cool to see that women are just as excited as men for something like this to come out.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. There was a meme you shared, and I actually shared it to my Facebook group that I thought was funny as hell. It was a blue FJ Cruiser and a blue Jeep Wrangler. Was it a Jeep Wrangler? And they gave birth to the blue Bronco. Something happens, and then like 9 months later, this happens or something. I can't remember, but it was funny as hell.
So it's a blue with so back in the day when Toyota had the FJ Cruiser, and limited edition ones were the ones with the white top. So it's a blue and white top FJ Cruiser. On the left, it says, "We can't tell anyone about last night." And then on the right is a blue with the white top, which is Chief, i.e. that's where Mischief Maker comes for Holly. And it says, "I know it would haunt us forever." And then down below is a picture of the Ford Bronco with the white top that says ... 9 months later. So it's just kind of saying people are thinking that they took the FJ Cruiser and the Wrangler, combined them, and that's what the Bronco is.
Good stuff. And I know one thing we haven't talked about, we're talking about obviously, all these Broncos. The one thing that I actually think is cool is they've got the 2 and the 4-door kind of off-road capable Broncos. They actually launched, they're calling it the Bronco Sport, which comes first. It comes out before the 2 and 4-door Bronco, but it's actually kind of like a Range Rover. And obviously Land Rover's got, they've got some crazy off-road tech. And it's like, Ford, not only are we going to go into competition with Jeep, we're going to go competition with Land Rover, which is funny because Ford actually owned Land Rover at one point in time. But I find it funny. It's like, Ford, now we're going to go after all the off-road market, not only Jeep, but we're going after Range Rover. Anybody that can compete with us, we're throwing something down. We're throwing down the gauntlet. I'm looking at it and going, man, this thing, it's a legit Range Rover competitor in that sport too.
No, exactly. And the crazy thing is I'm looking at it right now. So obviously it's available late 2020 as a 21 model. They're only making 2,000 of these. And you can get that cool Cyber Orange at no additional, extra cost was option. I was like, no additional, that's awesome. No, that's crazy though, just to think about what they're like. I don't know. It's cool to see car manufacturers have a little fun and have a little play with each other. Like we were talking about earlier, how, Jeep dropped the little teaser of the 392 concept. And, I've actually, driven a modified 6.4, and that was to Light Bright Studios, Kevin and Brittany Williams. And it's kind of cool. But now with Jeep, there are 4 different engine options that are available. You have a 2-liter turbo. Then you're going to have a 3-liter eco diesel. Then you have a 3.6-liter V6, which I have, and now you're going to have a 392 6.4 that's pushing 485. And so it's like, what do you want your Jeep to be? Because to me now, thinking about it, why do I really need a 6.4 in my Jeep if I'm not really, like I rock crawl. And I guess it'd be cool on the road as a good on-off road, just pull up to a stoplight and they don't think there's a Hemi inside. But I don't know. It's so crazy to see all the different options now that are available for different displacements and stuff. I think it's pretty cool. But it's all depending on what you want to do with your Jeep.
Well, and I think that's what's actually rad. Like you said, it's somebody wants to do light, off-roading and maybe only throws it in four-wheel drive in the snow, and they actually do use it to, take the kids to sporting events or whatever, and they don't want a minivan or a sedan. They actually want something rad. Or you've got somebody like you, such as yourself, that's full-on off-road. I'm going to take this thing on the gnarliest trails in North America. It's like Jeep's got something, and even, looking at the price point on a Jeep, looking at the price point on a Bronco, these things start at like $29,000, which is very affordable to get into off-road. And then, these things, they can run up you $60,000-$70,000 depending on how you outfit them and things like that. But I think I love that Jeep and Ford both have that nice entry-level price point where it's not like a Raptor where if you don't have $55,000, $60,000, you can't touch it. Anybody can get into a Bronco. I don't want to say anybody, but anybody that's, hasn't completely destroyed their credit score or something like that can get into a Bronco. It's $29,000. Most banks will finance you and things like that. So I really appreciate that Jeep and Ford have kind of acknowledged that and kept units that are accessible to everybody financially,
No, exactly. And that's the thing. It's kind of like at the end of the day, how much do you want to spend and what do you want to get out of your Jeep or Bronco now, And it seems like that the Bronco is one of the only vehicles within the last, 10 years, you want to say. And, there's going to be people that want to fight me, but 10 years that have actually given the Wrangler their run for their money, because there's no other vehicle out there that was really able to do that. And I guess you can say the FJ Cruiser, but they stopped selling that well over 5+ years ago. So it's kind of, you got to look at it in what you want. And to me, I would love to try to test drive that new Bronco just to see it and maybe take it a little off-road, obviously not rock crawl as bad as I have been, but just really push it to the limit and see what you can do. And do you know how much it weighs compared to a Wrangler?
No, I haven't read that much into it. Honestly, I got to think they're probably pretty damn close, Tiff. The 2 and the 4-door models, I got to think they got to be pretty close.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then how I want to put money down on it right now. I don't know if it will be this year, but definitely next year. How much you want to bet it will just be a sea of Broncos at SEMA?
It's funny. I was actually already on some email chains. I guarantee you this year will be a lot. It's not really in the wild yet. So Ford will place some with, some marquee builders and obviously they'll have their booth. But fast forward after this year and and I think this is going to be a smaller SEMA. 2021, the Broncos going to be all over SEMA, especially with them coming out in the spring. You be prepared. It's coming. The Bronco apocalypse is coming come SEMA 2021. Guaranteed that for sure. But,
And then SEMA 2022 will be Bronco overlanding. That's exactly what it'll just be like Wrangler all over again about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is I know we only got about a minute left, so I got to keep it tight here. But I think Jeep really they're sitting back, and obviously we talked about Jeep kind of throwing that announcement teaser out there. Jeep really, I guarantee you, is welcoming the Bronco. They want competition. It's just been them forever. Like this just, Jeep owners and Jeep as a company, this makes them elevate their game and, you know what I mean? And it allows them some competition. Like, I think this is healthy. I mean, this is going to be good for everybody. And I think, Jeep probably deep down is applauding this by Ford going, all right, we got some competition. Let's have some fun here.
No, and I agree. And so it's, at the end of the day, the question is, are you Team Bronco or are you Team Wrangler?
And we'll be back with more after this on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound. The sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'd like to welcome my good friend, fellow factory Polaris racing driver, Robert Loire, to the show, coming off a big weekend there at ERX Motor Park. I guess that would kind of be considered your hometown race, right, Robert?
Yeah, it's just about 45 minutes away, so I guess you could say right down the road.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about your win in a minute, but I kind of want to go back because I was fortunate up until this year, and I know I'll be at Crandon doing some announcing for him, but up until this year, like I've kind of followed along your journey in the Midwest Short Course Series, and I feel like 2 years ago, I remember, you kind of showed up with an RS1. You were one of the first guys to really show up with an RS1. Everybody kind of saw it and we're like, man, that's different. You know what I mean? And then, obviously you had some teething issues last year. I feel like you kind of hit your stride a little bit. And this year, man, coming out swinging, like you just made a statement. Hey, I'm the guy to beat. I feel like we've seen this entire arc with your, at least with the RS1 program, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, first year we had some issues trying to find the right setup, and we kind of just threw a bunch of stuff based on what everybody said. And then last year we started halfway through the season. I think we started to really get some momentum. And then over the winter, I'm just like, you know what? We got to just take what we learned the last 2 years and start fresh, and don't go completely back to the drawing board, but take what we learned the past 2 years and make a new vehicle and a new platform. And as you can see, it showed this first round here. Yeah, well, and I know, man, it was this was such a big race for so many reasons. Obviously, the kickoff to kind of not only the Midwest short course season, but short course as a whole in the U.S.
I think the eyes were on ERX. Obviously, Champ Off-Road, it was their first official race as, kind of the new Midwest sanctioning body there. I mean, by and large, I mean, it looked like great fan attendance. I mean, great racer attendance. I mean, this was, I feel like this race was stepped up a few notches from last year, especially kind of in the notoriety, just everything going on in the world. I mean, what was kind of the vibe there at the ground floor at ERX?
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody was had high expectations for ERX and especially Champ Off-Road being the new sanctioning body this year with the Midwest short course. And Champ really stepped it up just with everything, the marketing, live stream, the videos. I mean, it was just unbelievable. All of the events and stuff that they had coming up to the race, and also the whole event that they put on there at ERX.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your car because you showed up and sometimes we talk tires on the show, other times we don't. This one we're safe, though, because General Tire's got a family of brands that includes Continental Tire, Hoosier Tire. It's all the same family, all the same company. So we're allowed to talk about what you showed up to ERX with. And I got to tell you, I'm watching the live stream, and all of a sudden you pull up onto the stream, and it was like shocking. Like your car looked completely different than everybody else. And I go to your Instagram and immediately see these pictures of this radical new Hoosier. It looked like a desert tire. You're telling me it's a desert tire kind of adopted to short course, but you were saying that people there looked like you were ready to go Ultra 4 racing. But, dude, you got to tell me about this new tire and kind of the look and the stance of the car because your RS1 looked mean, man.
Yeah, I think quite a few people kind of chuckled when we showed up. You're like, what the heck is he doing? Like that tire is just way too big. And we had our doubts, and we were a bit skeptical going in, but just with the limited time with everything going on in the world and the new rules adopted around tires, Hoosier had to pull a hat out of their bag there at the last minute, and it ended up just working awesome. Like, we were all kind of in shock. We knew, we did all our homework, we did all our testing, but after the first qualifying event on Friday, and we took fast time, and two other drivers that were running the tires also took second, third. It was kind of like, wow, this is real. Like, we actually are going to be competitive with this. So it was really cool. And just all the changes that we made with the car, lowering the CG. I mean, that was like number one priority, is lower the CG as much as we can. And I mean, everything just seemed to work well together. We did do a lot of testing up front, but we didn't have to go back to the drawing board. We just had to make little tweaks here and there, and just the whole package just seemed to work awesome together.
Yeah, well, and honestly, there's a lot of unknowns coming into the opening round. Obviously, we know you are going to be strong. Obviously, there's the guys at Bikeman that are always strong. Obviously, you can't, you got to mention the Greaves, and obviously there's a bunch of other racers that we all know are going to be fast and kind of in the mix. But kind of coming into the new season, you really don't know what anybody else is bringing to the table. You kind of got an idea who might be quick, but you really don't know. I mean, was there a little bit of nerves in regards to that? Obviously, leaving ERX, I mean, you got to be one of the guys with a target on your back with a 2-1 officially, after it's all said and done, man. I mean, you guys got to be stoked on the way things shook out.
Yeah, I'll be honest. We came into the season pretty nervous. I mean, I was confident. I know I'm doing good. I left the season last year really good, really confident. We got the car working good. But, I mean, this is, even though it's still an RS1, we still didn't do anything radical, but we did quite a few changes it's kind of a new car. And then we throw these new tires into the mix, and 30-inch tires at that, and there was a lot of upcoming guys coming in, and it was a huge unknown. I mean, at one end I was like, we got this. And then at the other end, my buddies and work people were like, yeah, go out there and win, and good luck. Like, you're going to take the win. I'm like, I hope so. Like, I'll be happy to be in the top 5. And like, my main goal is be on the podium. And I mean, I never expected to be up front. Like, I think at the end of the day, after day one, we got the confidence, and I talked with the team, and it was like, we really have a shot at winning this, because our stuff was not perfect day one, and I'm like, we actually have a shot at this. If we can make the tweaks and make this car perfect, I think we actually have a shot. So I went into the main believing, especially starting on pole, that we got this. It definitely was not easy, as you could see on the live stream or the recap video. Jeremy Houle was coming in strong, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's kind of the thing. I mean, there's definitely no easy wins in any of the UTV divisions in the Midwest. I mean, you want to talk about stacked fields, and every single one, top to bottom, is kind of a stacked field. But I kind of want to shift gears and talk a little bit about you, because what a lot of people don't realize, obviously you run a RZR in off-road, but your day job is actually working for Polaris. And I know I've had some guests and some friends in the past that have worked for Polaris and also race on the weekends. And how does that work for you? Because obviously you're at ground floor, you're an enthusiast first and foremost, and you work for Polaris, and it allows you to kind of parlay what you learn on the weekends into the product and the company, I guess, on Monday, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely fun to work all day and pretty much transition my work to hobby out in the garage afterwards, and then go back into it the next day. I mean, there's constant learnings from each end of it. And then also I got into trail riding quite a bit last year. So now me and my wife get a vehicle out from work and go do some trail riding to also just get in that mix too. I mean, it's cool. It kind of helps out everything. It helps me understand the customer aspect of it, and it also helps me be a better racer, I believe, too, because it's more seat time, and it's driving different vehicles and just being behind the wheel. And I mean, I hadn't driven a turbo vehicle, I don't think ever. At the end of last year, we took out a new Pro XP, and I was just like, holy crap, these things are just like stupid fast. And I took my buddy in a ride in the passenger seat, and he's like, this thing's insane. Like, it's bone. I'm like, yeah, this thing is bone stock, just base model, Walker Evans shocks. And we were ripping through the trails, and he was just like, this thing is unreal. This thing handles better than my full-blown short course car. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy how good everything is getting, like how much the vehicles and just everything is progressing.
Yeah, well, and I think it's funny you say that too, because I was the same way. Like, we've got our desert cars, and I mean, we've got six figures wrapped up in our desert RZR builds, and all of a sudden the Turbo S came out. And all of a sudden, here's this car from the factory with long travel and everything else. And, we're like, oh, yeah, whatever. We go and drive it. And I was like, oh, why do I have this desert car that we've got six figures in? Why is that parked in the garage? Because this thing right here is just as fast as my race car. And I think that's one of the cool things, though, is us as racers, we can appreciate, what Polaris has done and continue to engineer and elevate the game. And, and really, development we've done on the racing side goes, directly back into the machines that hit the dealership floors across the country.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you said with the Turbo S. I mean, that thing's insane. And then now the Pro XP, and then, yeah, it's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah. Well, talking about better and better and better, we got to go back. We got to talk about the Midwest, because obviously ERX, it's in the books now. We got a new race at Lena. I don't know if you've driven that track. I think it's going to be kind of an equalizer this year, because it'll be new for a lot of people. And then we're going to Bark River, which is notoriously really tough on belt-driven cars, just because of the long stretches there. It's not like Crandon where you shorten things up. And then obviously we cap it off with a couple of Crandons, man. I mean, you're in the catbird seat now. You got the target on your back. How are you approaching these next 4 rounds?
Yeah, it's gonna be different. Normally, I go into the time qualifier behind be it CJ or somebody else that's really fast. So I kind of like latch onto them. Okay, I'm gonna try to latch onto CJ and push myself to catch him. Like sometimes it's try to keep up with them, but my main goal at ERX was to catch him, and that's why we were able to pull off fast time. But it's going to be different this round because I'm going to be going out first in time qualifying. So my wife is like you're going to have to learn how to go fast by yourself now. You don't have somebody to just latch onto. So it's definitely going to be different. We're going to have to figure out our lines before we go out there, and it's going to be a different plan for sure.
Yeah, you got to love the spouses, right? Because they're the ones that'll be 100% brutally honest with you, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously you got the short course program going on. I know you said you're doing some trail riding. I mean, you got your eyes on anything out here on the West Coast. Obviously, obviously there's King of the Hammers, there's Desert program. We got a lot of works racing going on. Obviously there's, the Lucas Oil Off-Road Series. I mean, obviously, you've got your roots there in the Midwest, but has there been anything, kind of an itch that you're seeing happen out here out West that you go, I might want to try that at some point?
Honestly, I've been joking around with my wife, but maybe not actually joking, is I really, really would love to do King of Hammers next year. The problem is it took long enough for me to build my short course car, and it looks like King of Hammers is like 10 times as hard on your car. So if that's real, we're going to have to start building the machine here shortly to be ready in time for King of Hammers. But ultimately, that's one of my goals right now. Like, that race is just, like, 2 years ago I started watching it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And now every year, and then like last year, it's gotten so big, and that's kind of like the proving grounds. It seems like kind of like the best of the best go there, and that's kind of like they prove that their car, their machine, their driving style, their team can do everything. So to me, it's kind of like the benchmark, and I would love to go do that. So we'll see what happens here throughout this season, and hopefully we can make it happen.
Yeah, well, here we go. We'll put you on the spot. I mean, why don't you do something different? You got an RS1, you're running short course. You feel like you're up to the task. You're going single-seater at King of the Hammers?
That would be sweet. I mean, we got the tire all ready to go. We can just show up probably. Yeah,
true story there. You got the tires. Oh, man. Well, we are up against the time break, Robert, but I appreciate you taking the time to call into the show, buddy. Congrats on the big weekend there at ERX, and we're looking forward to seeing you down the stretch here in the the new championship off-road series.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
We'll be back with more after this, right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back here to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Thanks to everybody who tuned in our Power Hour here on Sirius XM Channel 211, Dan Patrick Radio. If you are tuned in there, sorry to say we're going to say goodbye, but you can catch the rest of the show on Sports Byline, downanddirtyshow.com, Podcast One, Apple Podcasts, American Forces Network, and everywhere else you listen to your favorite audio hosts. I don't know. We've crammed a whole lot into hour number one, talking Bronco, ERX, Tiffany Stone. We had Robert Loire talking razors, short course, and you know what? We're going to try and cram even more into hour number two right here on the show. We got massive news coming out of the Tony Stewart camp. They're starting their own all-star racing series. We're going to jump into talking about that. We've got obviously ERX Motor Park and power rankings to talk about. We got a crazy weekend of motorsports that saw NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA, Formula One, and off-road all in action. And, man, it's going to be a lot to dissect in our power ranking segment. Not only that, but we have the Qubaisi sisters on the show, two phenomenal female talents from the UAE. They are doing some amazing things behind the wheel of race cars. Took part in a brand new documentary about the quest to have a female race in Formula One. So we're going to dive into things, talk with them, and see what kind of fun they have in the UAE. I'm hearing something about a whole lot of jet skis going on, so it's going to be fun catching up with them. So if you got any questions for any of our guests or me, hit me up at JimBeaver15 on social media. Would love to hear from you. Love to get your questions in the show. So hit me up, and we'll get those things asked. And we're going to take a short break. We'll come back. It's hour number 2 right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back here to hour number 2 of the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. And, man, I'm excited. We have racing back upon us. Whether you are a straight line fan like the NHRA, an off-road fan like me, you like Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, going in ovals, going in zigzags. I don't know, zigzags even a thing? Is that actually even a term in racing? What am I talking about? All I know is we got hour number 2 upon us, and we have a lot to cram into the show. Once again, if you got any questions for me, want to chime in, Chris Leone and I, we got a double dose of power rankings coming at you. You want to tell us our picks are horrendous. You want to tell us you agree with our picks. You got ideas, whatever. You got future guests you want to hear on the show. Whatever you got, I want to hear it. Let me be your shrink for the next hour. Hit me up at JimBeaver15 on social media, and we will get all those questions and a whole lot more answered in this segment of the show. And, man, it's been fun so far, and we got a whole heck of a lot more upon us. I know in Project Action this week, my other show, we're definitely going to be jumping into talking a whole lot of Bronco and that. Yeah, that's right, Bronco. This is big news. 25 years in the making, man. We're almost dedicating a week of audio content to the Bronco. It's blowing up viral all over the internet. I got my pre-order in. I'm getting the Badlands edition, 4-door Bronco, and I don't know what color I'm going to get, though. I know they got that color Area 51. They got Cyber Orange, trying to figure out. I don't know. I would love to hear what you guys think of the Bronco. Hit me up. Let me know what would you order. I was thinking about the 2-door Bronco, but I had to go with the 4-door, man. I'm at so many events getting in and out that 2-door would be a pain. But if you're just doing hardcore wheeling, and I'm going to do hardcore wheeling, but I'm also going to be using it at events and stuff. I just thought 4-door had to do it. But I am opting with a smaller engine only because I want to get a stick shift. That is right. I want a stick shift in my Bronco. I don't know. To me, it's like you got to have a stick in a Bronco. Bronco, I grew up driving, had a stick shift. I feel like I'm throwing a little homage to that. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna talk any more Bronco today, but we got a whole lot of Bronco to talk on Project Action this week. Power rankings coming up next. It'll probably be about a couple of segments with Chris Leone and I, and then we've got the Qubaisi sisters on the show from the UAE to wrap up today's episode. And once again, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button, leave a rating or review. Helps us out a whole lot, even if you're listening nationally or on SiriusXM. All right, we'll be back after this on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver here, along with my media director, Mr. Chris Leone. Chris, I guess for the first time in a long time, we've kind of brought back the power rankings here the past couple of weeks, but it's been a little slim pickings at times. This, I feel like, is the first week since the whole pandemic started, and I know obviously we shelved power rankings for a good, quarter of the year, but I actually had to make cuts, and that gets me excited. That means we're back to racing, buddy.
Yeah, I made more cuts than we have time to put on the list because I just went through as many people as I could find, Jim, that that had good weekends for whatever reason. Um, we had NASCAR, we had IndyCar, we had F1, we had NHRA, we had Championship Off-Road. I ended up with 14 drivers on my list, just kind of to even throw around, and man, it is it is something when you have that much to work with. We could very easily do a top 10 this week and still be missing some quality names.
Yeah, and gosh, I don't know, man. I've got this is going to be an interesting one for me. It was so ridiculously hard. I'm going to throw out there. He didn't make my list. We got a couple of things we're going to throw out there before we get started. He didn't make my list, but I did want to chime in on a guy that probably any other week would have made my list, but I got to give credit to my boy Sheldon Creed. He comes from off-road. He's got the dirt roots. He's been called, obviously he's the prodigy of Robbie Gordon. He's been called the next Robbie Gordon, the next Jimmy Johnson coming from off-road. Took a big win in the truck series, and obviously with so much racing and so many different we got first-time winners. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Sheldon, he was number 6 spot, Chris, but I felt like I had to bring him up. He's an off-road kid. He won a major NASCAR race. I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's see that's the thing. I didn't have him in my top 5 either, in part because I always penalize kind of the range shortened stuff, but Sheldon has really come on lately in that GMS truck. I mean, he had a great shot at winning Pocono. And he made some pretty aggressive moves, but the thing that really stood out to me with that Pocono race that he almost won was that the Sheldon Creed of a year ago in the truck series, I think, would have lost that truck on that last lap because that was a wild lap, but he saved it. And, even though he didn't get the win at Pocono that I think he would have deserved, karma kind of paid him back with the rain shortened victory in Kentucky. So, I think the universe kind of evened itself out on Sheldon Creed, and he finally gets to say he's a first-time NASCAR Truck Series winner, and I think first of many to come.
Yeah, I definitely think he's got a lot of wins in his future. So kind of staying in the stock car realm of the world, I do want to mention something else that didn't, once in a while I throw a wild card into my thing. I didn't do it this week because I think there's too many proper drivers that deserve to be mentioned for me to throw a wild card in. But I do want to mention Tony Stewart. He announced this new series, and it actually kind of reminds me, I was texting with my good friend Joe Duncan. A lot of listeners know Joe used to be the guy that runs the Terracross series. And, Tony Stewart's got basically the stock car version of Terracross. I believe he's got, Ray Evernham involved. They're building a car that can run dirt track, short track, and road courses. And I'm hoping they run shorter road courses and not these long 2.5, 3 mile road courses. But regardless, he's going to have 10, 12 drivers, everybody in the exact same spec car, and he's bringing in names. It's going to be it's going to be big names. I think probably current and past. Almost, I could see it being like a stadium super truck style revolving door of personalities. But that being said, I mean, I'm looking at guys like Greg Biffle, Robbie Gordon, going, man, Paul Tracy, guys like that, thinking, man, how rad would it be to see them behind the wheel of this kind of celebrity stock car hybrid series. And it's all in 2-hour windows on CBS Sports on Saturday evenings, man. He nailed the time slot. What are your thoughts on this, Chris?
Well, I mean, see, when this got announced, and it got announced the day before we were recording, I got a tweet from Arnie over at IndyCar that was to me and to Liza Markle, who helped Liza and Melissa Eichhoff put together LCQ League, and I'm just the guy who's kind of lucky enough to handle it through iRacing. And he was like, is this just real world LCQ League? And I said, depends. Can Ray Evernham build the cars with damage off? It's awesome that this is the time, though, that's coming back. I mean, that was one of the coolest things that we saw over the pandemic in the spring was as people moved to virtual racing because of how low the barrier is to being able to get involved in whatever you want to drive. We had guys driving all sorts of things that they've never touched in the real world and may never. I mean, we did it with the eShort Course World Cup. We put Connor Daly, Alexander Rossi, Ron Capps, Greg Biffle, David Higgins, over the course of the Triple Crown. We put all sorts of people in Pro 2s and Pro 4s, and that was a blast. And, for what, I mean, Tony has built just an incredible racing empire, I think, over the course of his career. Yeah, he came in on Stuart Haas Racing, but bought the All-Star Circuit of Champions, bought Eldora Speedway, has financial interest in a couple of other speedways. Tony has really put a lot of stuff together. And I think having somebody like Ray Evernham to build those cars, I was just talking with somebody recently about that 97 Jurassic Park car they built for the Winston that was totally legal, but NASCAR told them, do not ever bring that race car to the track again. Because of just how out of the box it was. And I think you're going to see something really, really interesting here. I would love to see Greg Biffle. I know that Greg has already tweeted, "Hey, I'm available." So that would be a cool one. I don't know what I really have for a wish list, I guess, for drivers. I mean, I'd like to see it all be people who are, recently out of full-time racing, whatever that means. I mean, I work with a couple of the LCQ guys that I think would be great for that. I want to see Chad Reed in that. Chad Reed would be phenomenal in that. That would be such a fun time. But whoever they end up getting in those things, it's going to be a who's who of motorsport, and it's going to be really exciting. Kudos to them for trying to put this all together. I know we're kind of in an uncertain time in motorsport right now. So to see something like this be able to pop up is really impressive from the business side, and hopefully the promises that it makes really play out, on the racing side as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited about it. I think, like you said, there's some guys like Chad Reed out there. I didn't even think about Chad. I mean, a guy like Ricky Carmichael, he's got some stock car experience. You know what I mean? I could see him doing it. Even going down that rabbit hole. James Bubba Stewart's got stock car racing experience. Travis Pastrana does. Entire LCQ league. You know what I mean? Well, obviously, I don't know. There's rabbit holes we could go down for days here, Chris. I'm just looking and I'm like, man, you want to know like the Mount Rushmore, who I would love to see in there that will never happen, but I would love to see it happen. He's still got talent. He's become a better car owner than he was race car driver, but let's not forget, he's one of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time, Michael Andretti. How rad would it be to see Michael Andretti in this, Like, I don't know. We could do this for days, Chris, but let's move on to power rankings, man. We probably got room for one before we hit the break here. So let's start off with number 5 on our list for power rankings for this week, Chris. Who do you have?
Ooh, Jim, this one was tough. I wrote down all of my names, and this one actually appeared 6th on my list, and then I looked at number 5, and I'm like, gotta give him the edge here. Austin Cindric at Kentucky Speedway. Austin, he's somebody who I was lucky enough to work with the couple of years that he did Rallycross, but he's really been making a name for himself in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and came out, swept those Kentucky races, was really the class of the field. A lot of people, because of the diversity of his experience, they look at him as a road course specialist. Nope, not a road course specialist, and especially not anymore. When you go back-to-back in 2 straight days on the same racetrack, and especially when it's a mile and a half like Kentucky, which is kind of the epitome of sort of a cookie-cutter track on the NASCAR schedule with those mile-and-a-half tri-ovals, you're no longer a road course specialist. You're an oval guy too, and I think AC's the complete package, and I think he's got a shot at winning that Xfinity title.
Yeah, Austin Cindric, man, he is the curious case of Austin Cindric. That kid is, he's got a big, bright future, and I think it could go a lot of different directions. Never going to argue with him on your list. I'm going to move to my list. Number 5, I've got them Capco boys, Big Bad Billy Torrance. You knew I had to have him on the list, Chris. I love Billy. He's a great personality, and here's a guy who, if he ever actually decides to go full-time in Top Fuel, I think nobody wants him to, especially his son Steve, because he's going to hurt a lot of feelings, and he's going to ruin a lot of weekends for a lot of drivers because Billy is that damn good. And I got Billy Torrance at number 5 on my list. Chris, we're going to cut to a break. I'll let you chime in on that after the break here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. We are just getting through our fifth guys in the fifth spot in power rankings. Chris had Austin Cindric at number 5. I had Big Bad Billy Torrance and them Capco boys at number 5. Chris, I guess moving on, you know what? Who do you have at number 4?
Well, see, Jim, that's where it's kind of funny because I said the guy whose name I wrote down 6th, I ended up picking at my number 5, but I actually wrote down Billy Torrance as my original number 5, and then I kind of, it was tough. It was really a 5A, 5B, and I kind of just gave the edge to Austin Cindric based on doing it 2 days in a row. But number 4, we are going to go up to Road America for the IndyCar Series doubleheader. And I am going to start it off with Felix Rosenqvist at number 4, finally getting that IndyCar win. You know, he's somebody who has really, really impressed, you know, in the time since he's gotten to Chip Ganassi Racing, took advantage of, you know, those closing laps, was able to reel in Pato O'Ward, was able to take that victory and, you know, be able to get past him. Honorable mention as well to Alexander Rossi finally getting the monkey off his back and getting back on the podium. But Felix Rosenqvist taking that breakthrough victory, I think now that he's got it under his belt, now that weight's off his shoulders, I don't see, you know, I see a lot more victories coming for him. He is the future of that team. I mean, in fairness, the way Scott Dixon has been going, Scott Dixon may still be the future of that team for 5 more years, and we'll get to Scott later, but Felix Rosenqvist, my number 4.
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You talk about Scott Dixon. He literally all-time motorsports Mount Rushmore. And yes, I said Mount Rushmore. You're talking the top 4 or 5 of all time in any discipline. Scott Dixon, he is solidifying his case, Chris, as one of the all-time greats. I mean, we're talking put him up there with Parnelli Jones and Mario Andretti, and in some regards, he's probably better. It's crazy when you talk about Scott Dixon. And I'll get to Scott later on, but I am a massive Dixon fan and a ton of respect for what he's accomplished and continues to accomplish on the track. But going to number 4 for me, I'm going to go NASCAR racing here. And I'm going to go with a guy who picked up his very first ever Cup win, Cole Custer, doing it for Stewart-Haas Racing, Chris. And I don't know, anytime you get your very first win at the Cup level, obviously, just like you'd mentioned, Felix Rosenqvist, you know, I feel like Custer, you know, he's got some legs. You know, you want to talk about one of the future faces of NASCAR. I mean, he's a current face of NASCAR, but I think we start looking 4 or 5 years down the line, and I think we got a lot more wins we're going to see out of Cole Custer.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, that one was kind of a surprise. It was, I didn't end up watching the Kentucky race. It seemed to not get all that great of reviews until the last 15 to 20 laps when everybody was sort of bunched up. But, you know, it was my girlfriend's birthday, and, you know, happy birthday, Emily. Had to put the girlfriend first, so I missed the Kentucky race. But I did get to watch the replay of the finish, and it took some cojones to go 4 wide in the tri-oval to make what ended up being the winning pass in the final lap. So, definitely credit to Cole Custer for that. Not on my list, but, certainly an impressive move. And you got to think that if you're able to pull that off, at this point, then you've probably got some more aggressive, successful moves in your future. It's funny. We both had first-time winners at number 4, but I am going the exact opposite route, I think, for the rest of my list. Number 3, going back to Road America. That's where I've got Scott Dixon slotted in. 3 wins in a row to start the year. It almost doesn't seem fair. It's how long has Scott Dixon been doing the thing at this level? He is our generation's undisputed best open wheel driver. Apologies to a couple of other guys in there, but I don't see how you can put anybody above Scott Dixon on that list. He may go down as the best driver that we've, in racing history that's never driven Formula One, at least in open wheel, that's never run a Formula One Grand Prix. He's just... Yeah.
No, well, in doing a little bench racing here, I would say the only guy that could have rivaled him in this generation and probably would have the career stats similar to Scott Dixon, and he was on track to do it before he went to Formula One, and that was Sebastian Bourdais. But obviously we know about, him going to Formula One, trying that. You gotta give a driver respect if he wants to give it a try. Didn't quite pan out, but I think Sebastian Bourdais was the only thing in that generation, that could have came close. And obviously he was a dominant force in Champ Car. And Dixon stayed true to his IndyCar roots and stayed here. And gosh, man, like you said, his resume second to none. Of all time.
And not only that, but I mean, you're also talking about the very end of the Champ Car IRL split, and people at that point, a lot of people just kind of viewed the IRL as the superior product, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of Sebastian Bourdais at that, in the IndyCar level when he was in his prime, because I do think that the Newman Haas team at that time could have taken on any IndyCar team in that merge series before having to, make the split. I still think that the Panos, they ran that last year at Champ Car, is one of the most beautiful open wheel cars of all time and one of the most underrated. But I guess that's neither here nor there. I don't know how much time we got left in the segment, but I guess I should give it back to you for your number 3, Jim.
Yeah, we'll have to skip through these next ones pretty quick. But moving to number 3, I'm going to go to Formula One, Red Bull Ring. Lewis Hamilton, you want to talk about a guy that just basically owned the race weekend. And, we can talk about the actual race where he won by 13.7 seconds. And obviously I know there was, there was some weather, and things like that in play, but I want to talk about his qualifying effort. When was the last time you saw somebody take a pole by 1.2 seconds? I mean, you want to talk about a dominating effort there, to open the Formula One season. I had to have Lewis Hamilton at number 3, excuse me.
I am the most enthralled by F1 that I've been in a long time after those first couple of races. And yeah, even that qualifying session was just nuts. Max Verstappen just going all out trying to win the pole at the end, and some of those bobbles, that was crazy. But that's a perfect segue, because I actually had Lewis Hamilton at number 2. Not only for just that dominant qualifying performance, but, being in sort of the global pressure cooker that he's always been in as a media figure, but with everything that's gone on in the world, that's kind of amplified his place in that, with everything that he's been doing for racial justice and equality and the spotlight being brighter. And then compound that with the penalty he got for the contact with Alex Albon in the first Red Bull Ring race that knocked him off the podium in the opener, and still has Valtteri Bottas, I believe, in just sort of a slim points lead. Hamilton needed to respond in that second Red Bull Ring race, and respond he did. So he's my number 2.
Well, moving to number 2, I've got to go off-road racing with a little Chip Ganassi thrown in, but I'm going to go with Kyle LeDuc at number 2. Obviously, back-to-back wins at ERX to open the short course series in one of the biggest Pro 4 fields we've seen in years. So, 2 wins. One of those wins ended up being his 100th career victory in short course. And then to top it all off, and it was announced today that he joined Sarah Price as a second driver for the Extreme E Series for Chip Ganassi Racing. So I got to tell you, man, that's a lot happening in a window of about 3 or 4 days for Mr. Kyle LeDuc. Due to that, I got him at number 2 on my list.
It's funny because I actually have Kyle LeDuc as my number 1, Jim, and now I feel like I've done that thing where I just completely blanked on somebody for my number 1 because I have done that with you more than once over the course of this. But yeah, certainly it's awesome to see Kyle LeDuc's efforts over the past few years in Pro 4 get rewarded with that Extreme E deal. It'll be awesome to see him teaming up with Sarah Price over there. But for me, Kyle LeDuc going in, just dominating the weekend at ERX. I mean, first of all, it's so cool to see all of the big Pro 4s back in one place, running championship off-road this year. But for Kyle LeDuc, goes into ERX, he's never seen that track before. He's never driven that track before, at least. And you go in, you're the fastest truck the whole weekend. You sweep both victories. You're going in on Andrew Carlson's turf. You're going in on Johnny and CJ Greaves' turf. You're going in on the turf of guys who have raced these tracks since they were built. And you just make a statement like that. That's pretty impressive. And so I had Kyle LeDuc at number 1.
Well, and moving to my number 1, I will leave the disclaimer, Chris. You didn't miss anybody. I cheated. My number 1, I've got Chip Ganassi Racing. How do you pick between Rosenquist? Yeah, how do you pick between Rosenquist, Scott Dixon, the whole Kyle and Sarah? I mean, Ganassi, they're going to dominate Extreme E with that tandem. I just went, you know what? I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna put just Chip Ganassi Racing is number 1 on my list. So you didn't miss anybody. I cheated, buddy.
Fair enough. I mean, on top of the 2 IndyCar drivers, and then you sign Kyle LeDuc, and I mean, the other thing, I got to say, we've got this NASCAR All-Star race coming up. By the time that the national show airs on Sirius, when we're here on Sirius XM, it'll be long since run. But the 42 paint scheme is one of the only good ones I think that we've seen where they've moved the number back. So it's been a good week over at CGR, I think.
Yeah, definitely a good week. And we have to take a short commercial break, and we'll have a whole lot more and a whole lot more fun right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Whether you're looking for a tire that balances high performance responsiveness and traction in wet and light snow conditions, excellent handling and traction in wet and dry conditions, or a summer performance tire designed with the driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has you covered. From the all-new G-Max RS to the Grabber ATX, no matter what you drive, General Tire will get you where you're going. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, cruising with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Looking to have some fun on 4 wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
All right, very excited to welcome a couple of guests to my show today. Amna and Hamda Al-Qubaisi. Welcome to the show. How's everything been on your end? I know things in the world a little bit crazy right now, but how's everything been with you and the family?
It's really good. It's a really perfect time to spend time with the family together. So we're on hold with racing and traveling. So yeah, spending time with the family.
Well, and I think that's kind of one of the big things, right? I mean, we all as race car drivers, I race, and we're traveling so much and things like that. We miss out on a lot of small things, with families and maybe a birthday here or a family get together there. And I feel like the last few months it's kind of I think everybody's been able to catch up and spend some time. And I guess I feel like sometimes things slip through the cracks. And I feel like the good thing that's happened the past few months is we're actually able to not miss out on a few things.
Yeah, that's true.
we've missed a lot during our racing season, especially because we would travel to Europe for racing. So it was really hard for us. We would miss a lot of gatherings and birthdays, but now we had time with the family, but still eager to go back on track and back racing. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, and I know you've been having some fun. I got to ask you about you had a Sea-Doo video you just posted, which looked like a ton of fun. But I got to ask, how did you end up in the bushes?
My brakes failed me.
Oh, yeah, I was watching and I was like, oh, this is a fun video. And then all of a sudden, oh, here's the bushes.
Yeah, we were trying to like splash each other, and then she was trying to splash me, and then went straight to the bushes.
Oh. So, we got a lot to catch up on, but I kind of want to go back to the start to both of you, Amna and Hamda, because you both, I kind of want to talk about how you got involved in racing. Obviously, your father, everybody knows he's a very accomplished race car driver. I mean, what was kind of that got you started? I mean, did you see your father racing, go, hey, I want to do this? I mean, what was kind of the open door that both of you saw that, you know what, we want to try and make a career out of this? I mean, take us back to the start and kind of what got you started in racing.
Basically, like, before we weren't really interested. We were more like doing gymnastics, so we started training in the US and back and forth. It was like a nice summer camp. We used to do a summer camp in the US, and like we really took it serious, and then I reached the elite level. But then I saw my dad racing, and he would bring drivers to the house, and like we'd have like top driver guests come over and have dinner with us, and like I was really intrigued with their conversations and the tracks they spoke about and the races they talked about, and like they were mostly laughing and stuff. So I figured I wanted to give racing a try, so I asked my father, and he took me to the closest karting track, and from that point he started to train me.
Yeah. So I got to ask, were you a natural, or was it the first time you got behind the wheel? You went, oh, this is going to be a little bit tough.
Oh yeah, first time I was just like, this is going to be really hard because I had no idea what I was doing like behind the wheel. Yeah.
Well, that being said, obviously you get into the karting program and things like that. I mean, and when did you realize, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. This might be a career opportunity, because a lot of people get started in karting and it's kind of feeling your way out and to see how well you are. I mean, at what point did you go, oh, hey, I'm good at this. Like, let's do this.
It took me like the first year. I was really inexperienced, and I started pretty late. I started at the age of 13, and my competitors started at the age of like 7. So as I started doing a few races, I realized I was within the pace despite my experience, and I was like, okay, I have like potential to be at the top with the top drivers. So that's when I realized that I had the potential.
Yeah. Well, and Hamda, how about you? Obviously, you're watching your sister start racing. I mean, was that one of those, you'd seen your dad, now you've seen your sister, and it was like, hey, I want to do this too?
Yeah, I think it was more where I saw my sister in her first year and her first season here in the UAE. She was doing karting, and she was in an academy, and she seemed very dedicated and passionate about it. And I never knew I would ever enter motorsports because I felt like it wasn't my thing. But as soon as I jumped in the kart, I straight away found the feeling like, oh, this is actually fun. Like, I didn't expect myself to be attached to it this much. And then since then, like I joined the academy with my sister and started from there.
Well, you know what, I want to talk about just kind of the motorsports world in general right now, because you guys are a part of this new wave of female drivers who are really breaking down boundaries. But I feel like, it's still very, very tough to be a female driver in motorsport. But I feel like, I know here in the United States and globally, we're starting to see a big push of this amazing female talent that's starting to win races. And I feel like, right now is such an ideal time for female race car drivers, because I feel like now, it seems like year after year there's more and more acceptance, and they're looking at you not as female drivers, but just as drivers in general.
Yeah, it's been a long way, and right now I've seen how many females have potential, like Tatiana Calderon, Sofia Flores, so many like really top drivers, like fighting in top 5, top 6. I've seen a lot of, and they've inspired me personally, and like I started to achieve a lot more while seeing them doing it. It's like it was like a drive for me to do better. So I think it's really great to see that, and also with FIA Women in Motorsports, doing this partnership with Ferrari Drivers Academy was another big step I've seen just recently. So it was really good, yeah.
Well, and let's talk about you a little bit. I mean, obviously, you had this big win in Formula 4 there at in the UAE last year. But tell us a little bit about that, because I know it's very emotional. But winning there, you know what I mean. That was kind of the culmination, of so many things. I mean, tell us a little bit about that victory, because I know you'd worked so hard to finally take that top step on the podium.
Yeah, it was a really emotional step, because I remember like before that race weekend, we were low on sponsors. We didn't have, it was like our last chance to prove ourselves, to get more sponsorship or an extended contract for the sponsorship. So I really worked hard, and it's on this like same weekend as Formula One weekend. So being on the podium where the F1 drivers get to step up on the podium was also an amazing feeling. So yeah, it was a very emotional weekend for me.
Well, let's talk both of you. You just mentioned sponsorship there for a while, and I think a lot of people lose sight, and I know, sponsorship, especially moving up the ranks, looking at Formula One long term. I mean, and it's all about financial backing. I mean, how hard is it for you as a female driver? Do you feel like it's a little bit tougher for you to get sponsorship, or does it open up the doors to potentially some sponsors that that maybe haven't looked at racing because you are female? I mean, obviously, money is king, especially when you're looking at Formula One long term. I mean, how has that sponsorship hunt been for you guys? I know you're both active on social media. You do a lot of media appearances and things like that. I mean, how has that hunt been?
It was really, it's tough to find enough sponsorship for the season. We've struggled a bit, but when we got results, we started to gain like sponsorship opportunities from companies. So it's all about getting the results we had to achieve to find these sponsorship opportunities. And it wasn't really about whether we're female or not. It was just that they needed to see results.
Yeah, well, and I think that's it kind of lends itself to some opportunities. Tell me a little bit about this Formula E test, because I know that was also a big thing for you, being able to test, and and we're talking about one of the highest levels of racing in the world. I mean, how was that for you to get behind the wheel of a Formula E car?
Yeah, it was thanks to Kaspersky, who gave me the opportunity to drive the Formula E car. It was really different to what I'm used to. Like the car reacts quicker, the acceleration is much faster, the torque, the track, which is a street track, is also like very nice and twisty. So it's a whole new experience, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, is that one of those where you get a taste of driving something like that and then you want it more, right? You're like, oh, that's what it's like?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk a little bit. I mean, we've got here June 30th. We've got a big, I guess, documentary coming out, Beyond Driven. Both of you are involved in this documentary. I mean, tell us a little bit about this, because it really is about female race car drivers and pushing the boundaries and trying to get another female into Formula One. I mean, kind of tell us about the experience working with this film and what people can expect from it.
I'm doing this documentary. Really proud to be a part of, especially alongside top female drivers who are in it too. It's quite exciting. It tells you our experiences and what we go through in racing, and about the legendary Leila Lombardi.
Yeah, and her journey as well in Formula One to get to score a point, first female to score a point in Formula One. So that's a legendary thing, and as other females joining into motorsports and trying to also reach F1. So I think it's a really good documentary, and we're proud to be in it. So.
Well, let's kind of talk about the rest of 2020, because I know everybody had plans going into this year, and I feel like kind of plans all went up in the air at some point. Yeah. And everybody's kind of looking, going, all right, so what do we do in the second half of this year? And I know obviously Formula One's kind of got their program. I know here in the United States, the big series, NASCAR and IndyCar, both have kind of their ideas. Where does that leave both of you? What are the plans for you guys for the rest of 2020? Because I know you had some plans going into the season, and now I'm kind of curious to see what the plans look like for the rest of this year.
Yeah, after I finished the F4 UAE season, I was supposed to travel straight to Italy to prepare for the championship there, for the Italian F4 championship that my sister has done 2 seasons in a row. So I was so excited for my first season in Europe, but then this coronavirus came and everything got ruined. So now we're a bit stuck, because the drivers are already in Italy and they're already testing, but I'm stuck here because it's really hard to travel at the moment, with Corona. So we haven't got the approval yet, and I was supposed to travel last week actually, but still didn't get the approval until now. So it's a bit sad, but we're trying our best to get the approval and soon hopefully arrive to Italy for some testing before the season starts, because it might start around August. So yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a chance to get some get a little bit of seat time, hopefully. So how about your sister? How's what's things looking like for you for the rest of this year?
Maybe there is the Formula 3 regional. We were thinking to start testing, maybe join a few races, as I'm the only driver who will be inexperienced with the car. As I've seen, as Hamda also mentioned, they're all testing. They've been testing for a while, and I still haven't tried the car yet. So we'll see how this year goes, and we'll find out.
Well, and how big? I mean, for some of the listeners who may not know, because the cars look a little bit similar. I mean, it's a big step from Formula 4 to Formula 3. I mean, what you kind of tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, you said you haven't tested the car yet, but it's just a little bit quicker, a little bit better brakes. I mean, everything's just a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah, there's more downforce. It's heavier than the Formula 4, as in to drive it, steering wheel wise, it's much heavier, faster. More torque, so yeah, it's much more. It's a real car, basically.
So I gotta ask, what? Obviously, we know the jet skis, but you've had a few. You guys have had a little bit of time, on your hands. I know UAE has some very fun things to do. What's been keeping you guys occupied the last couple of months? I know you doing any sim racing. I mean, you spending some time obviously on the water. What's been keeping you guys busy?
We've been doing some dune bashing and some, we have the Can-Am. We would go on desert trips with
some
the
jet
fam.
skiing.
Yeah. A lot of motorsport things.
Anything that involves an engine, we're in.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I'm a factory Polaris racer here in the United States, and I know I've seen the fun you guys have in the UAE, and that's been on my thing. I'm like, I need to make a trip to the UAE just to go in the dunes, because it looks so much fun over there.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
There's also this famous dune called Murab, and it's like the
world's largest
dune. So yeah, it's really nice.
Now you got me excited. I need to book a trip after coronavirus gets done. Well, I appreciate you both taking the time to call into the show today. I know, obviously, with the time difference and stuff, it's kind of messed up your schedule a lot. But much appreciated for taking the time to come on the show. We'll catch up soon, and we'll be back to wrap things up here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on 4 wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back here to the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Big thanks to all our guests this week. Obviously, Chris Leone, Tiffany Stone, Robert Loire, and the Qubaisi sisters calling in from the UAE. That's got to be one of our most distant interviews yet. Literally other side of the world. So kind of stoked on that. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Continue to support us. Once again, head over to Apple Podcasts, smash that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. It definitely helps us out more than you will ever know. And make sure to check out my other show, Project Action, on Podcast One. We're going to be talking Bronco this week on that show. Man, we got a ton of content coming your way. The next couple of weeks, months, man, we're back to racing, and that means we're back to doing what we do full time. Big thanks to all our partners here: General Tire, Polaris RZR, Vision Wheel, Rigid Industries, Dirtfish. Don't forget, use that coupon code JimBeaver15. Get you 15% off of Dirtfish. GSBX TV axles, Gibson exhaust, Optimus starters, Racing Junk, Acronis, iRacing. It's PR-Jim Beaver. That'll get you a big discount there at iRacing. And thanks to all of you for continuing to tune in. I am at JimBeaver15 on social media. You can check out our website, downanddirtyshow.com. And with that, I think it's time for me to sign off this week. You guys have a great week. Be safe, and we'll see you next time right here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.